Broads Media.
What is going on, everyone? The Sixers win streak, it snapped. Very unfortunate. We'll talk about what the hell happened. Before we do, if you are new to the channel, come join the party here at Broads Media. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all of your support. If you're looking to buy tickets to go to any NBA game, NHL game, you got Sixers Celtics Friday at the Wells Fargo Center. You can use promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout for $20 off of your ticket. So you know all those fees you get hit with? Forget about it. Poof, they're gone, eliminated right from the jump. If you go to SeatGeek and you use the promo code BROADS at checkout, it is a no-brainer. Get yourself to a game. TikTok at Broads Media. Toss a follow there as well. We're doing some fun things. And with that being said, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I think we could break it down as simple as this. The Charlotte Hornets wanted it more. Charlotte came into South Philadelphia. As soon as that ball was tipped at half court, they brought the intensity. They brought their swagger. Gordon Hayward was going off. At one point, I'm looking at the box score and seeing 9 for 9. He finished with 30 points, and he looked like the pre-injury Gordon Hayward. And to be honest with you, he probably shouldn't have. Transition defense was highlighted prior to the action, and we saw that basically play out as a major flaw, which is a common theme for this team, and that's something that we are accustomed to unfortunately witnessing every single damn time they touch that cord. And yeah, they got exposed in that area, and it just looked like Charlotte wanted it more. They dug deeper. They played with more pizzazz. They played with more energy. They were flying up and down the court, the points in the paint, for them to be able to get to the hoop and get to the cup as easily as they did. It was frustrating that second quarter, getting outscored the way that you did, and the stretches throughout that second quarter of cringeworthy effort and cringeworthy execution. Yeah, it was problematic, and I never like to just say, well, in a 48-minute span, you can look back to 3, 4, 5 minutes and really look there, study that, and say that that dictated what the result was. But I honestly feel you look at that second quarter, and no doubt you could tie a bow right then and there on, hey, Charlotte, yeah, they'll pull away with this bad boy. Even though the third quarter was an emotional roller coaster, you're down 20, you cut back into the lead a little bit. Plumlee ends up getting into foul trouble, which opens up the door for a possibility to explode and really annihilate, go into a smaller lineup if you're the Charlotte Hornets. It was back and forth, a seesaw, but because you dug yourself such a hole, that's all she wrote. And yeah, I mean, Gordon Hayward was in his prime, so it seemed. Miles Bridges put up some points. It was a frustrating watch for sure. There was a couple moments where I thought maybe, just maybe, the Sixers would squeeze away with it due to a surge and due to the fan base rising a bit, due to the Wells Fargo Center having a tiny bit of life. After some booze poured down, there was a reaction and there was a spark that happened. It's almost as if there's a meaning behind it. It's almost as if it's holding you accountable, and then you answer the bell. But as I alluded to, sometimes when you go down 20, you can't pull yourself out of that, and that's exactly what happened with the Sixers. Joel needed help. He did everything he possibly could. Now, he held himself accountable after the game, mentioning those 7 turnovers. And if you look, I mean, one comes to my mind where he tries to pass it to Furkan. Furkan doesn't know what he's really doing. Ball goes out of bounds. But when you bring the double team the way that they do, sometimes even more than that, and nobody else is stepping up and able to knock down any shots. And if you watch Matisse Thybulle, it's problematic when you can't be a threat whatsoever. It's so easy to disrespect him. It's the same card that happened with Ben Simmons. Oh, Ben? Okay, we'll leave his ass, not even look at him at all, and then we'll bring more pressure, we'll apply more attitude towards Joel Embiid to force him to be as uncomfortable as humanly possible. Now, sometimes he just hits a step-back three. Sometimes the ball's getting knocked out of his hands, and he somehow readjusts in midair and knocks down the shot, and oh, by the way, goes to the line HOTLINE as well. Sometimes he's able to throw a wicked pass. I didn't know if it was Zach Wheeler or Joel Embiid with the fastball pass that happened to the opposite side of the floor for Tyrese Maxey to cash in. And this was early in the game where I thought, oh, baby, this is going to be a 40 burger. This is going to be a 44-point burger. Just unfortunately, the referees with some foul called on Joel limited maybe the aggressiveness with his play at times. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like there was that emotional ride. But Joel Embiid needed some help. He needed somebody to step up. Matisse Thybulle having 0 points, getting the nod in the starting rotation, unacceptable. And then the Sixers got desperate. When you have to throw out Andre Drummond and Joel, play the big man lineup. Look, it worked a couple of games ago, and I said in that moment, based off of the circumstances, it is what it is. It's not something that you can consistently rely on. And when the team is that flat, they're that dull, the ball movement was pretty damn poor. You think about just the lack of execution. It seemed like tonight just wasn't their night. And that's something that I also kind of touched on in the last post-game show after their 7th straight win. Even if it's against a horrendous team, at some point you just have that clunker. At some point you just have that disappointing game where nobody could really make their shots or the flow just completely evaporated and you chalk it up to one of those nights where it was just poor. Now, I don't know what this game means in the grand scheme of things until I witness their future games. We'll see Boston on Friday. After Boston, they play the Miami Heat. If they win those 2 basketball games and then you look at their 7 straight wins, 1 hiccup along the way, and then they beat the Celtics, they beat the Miami Heat, then it's less impactful. Then it's less where you take less out of it, I guess I should say, right? You look at the bigger sample size and the bigger window of them continuing to put together games, but I also have to imagine that when you're going through, all right, now Tyrese Maxey's back, now you're flirting with Matisse Thybulle in the lineup, this and that, right? We talked about guys getting back, which is helping this overall team get into rhythm. Is this something where I'm overanalyzing and they win the next couple of games, I don't even think about it? Or guys keep coming back, guys keep leaving, this and that. It messes up maybe the flow of things, which we know that Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and them playing together and just with the general conversation of figuring out a ball handler, you're trying to throw in different looks and whatnot. Does that just mess up the rhythm in general is kind of what I'm getting at there. No one specific, not targeting anybody fully, just from a full body of work sample size. You know, they haven't been playing with Maxey. Joel Embiid able to operate as this guy running up and down the floor, being this primary ball handler type of dude. But if you go back and look here, just to look at some of how the minutes were distributed, I do think that that's important just for, as my keyboard is 9 feet in front of me because I have my notes and things in front. Tyrese Maxey played 38 total minutes. Joel Embiid played 33. And Tobias Harris, 37. He had another tough one. And then you see before the game begins that he's playing through some sort of injuries and he's all sorts of banged up. And I'm not going to make any excuses for him. He needs to play significantly better. We need him to be stronger, and that's definitely holding this team back to the potential that it can be. Not that with a great Tobias Harris, this team's going to go win a championship, because I don't think that's necessarily the case either. They're still missing a $30 million hole in their lineup with a dude who's embarrassed to show his damn face. Yet Rich Paul elects to sit there on the in the stands and hang out by the court, which is an embarrassment in my opinion. But Tyrese Maxey, he's on the team. They'll probably try and sell you that product. And real quickly, all this news and all this reporting that's going on about Ben Simmons and the Sixers, none of it's actually anything. When you read the stories, nothing is going on whatsoever. Well, Rich Paul and Daryl Morey had conversation and nothing really has moved forward. The Sixers are still standing strong that they want a top 25 player. They're not just going to get rid of Ben Simmons. Okay, and I get it. The name Ben Simmons gets you clicks. The Athletic might need to have people click on some sort of articles. There's a reason why they had to sell, and they went into the New York Times and all that. Yeah, you mentioned the name Ben Simmons, people are going to get all hyped up, and their panties are going to be in a bunch. But there's nothing going on whatsoever. When things get quiet, that's when Ben Simmons' name gets resurfaced, so there's more buzz. because God forbid people forget about Ben Simmons. No, that's unacceptable. Rich Paul is such a damn fraud, and it's a shame because he has a collab with New Balance 550s. I just got myself a pair of the ALD Evergreens, which are unbelievably real legit as hell and so sick. I like the colorway of Rich Paul's, but I can't support that nonsense, so I have to look in another direction. Where was I going before all that? You need help. You need guys to step up. Tobias Harris couldn't. I don't want to make excuses. I think there's probably a correlation with how ugly it's been at times and him having some sort of nagging pain. You got to either dig deep and get through it, or you got to put yourself in an area where you get healthy, because what we've seen from Tobias Harris is nowhere even close to successful enough for our liking. Seth Curry with the quiet one. And I mentioned how this team got desperate, right? You're also throwing Niang out there in bigger moments, and he's picking up personal fouls, and he's trying to defend a player like Gordon Hayward who's having himself a night. And that's what happens when your best defender in Matisse Thybulle can't provide anything for you. You can't keep him on the court because it's problematic and really does hurt you. So that's really what I saw today. Maxey was 4 of 13. Wasn't anything crazy whatsoever, of course. There was a moment where he had a couple of threes, which was nice. But other than that, not enough, and we'll just see. We'll see how this team bounces back from a bigger picture standpoint when they play the hated Boston Celtics at home in South Philadelphia Friday night at 7:30. I can't wait to see how they come out ready to play. Do they just put this one behind them and they look more like the team that they played over their last 7 games? This is the best opponent they've seen, right? And I'm not going to simplify it to the level of, well, every team they played sucked so much that this just tells you they're not really good and they're just beating up on bad teams. That's unfair. That's too much of a small sample size. One game won't tell me that. If you're just going to make that assumption based off of this effort, well, that's not okay with me. Maybe you are right if you feel that way, but I need to see more. I have to see them play 48 minutes, a longer period of time against some of these better teams with Joel as this new player that we've seen so far this year, because yes, he is even a newer player than what we witnessed last season. The amount of times that I've seen all over social media, how in the world did this player really improve this much? How in the world has he added to the repertoire to this insane degree? I don't have the answer for you. I wish I did. I seriously wish I could break it down and really dissect the science to this bad. But if that's the case, I could probably break the news here and fix the COVID situation we have, because it's just unexplainable, because it doesn't make any sense. Our brains as human beings can't really even process, no pun intended, the information that Joel Embiid improves at the rate that he does. Even though he had the turnover problem, I like the fact that he held himself accountable, but I thought a large product of that is, one, personnel on the floor around him, specifically Matisse Thybulle, and also no one else was making their shots. If somebody else was reliable tonight, it takes the pressure off of Embiid, and you don't have to respect them. If you're on the other side, you don't have to respect any of these guys. I'm saying, did that come off as if I was saying you don't have to respect Joel? No. You always have to respect Joel Embiid. You'd be a fool. You'd be a douche if you don't respect Joel Embiid. It's the surrounding pieces. When I know Toby ain't having it, when I know that Seth Curry, Maxey, when I know these guys don't have it, yeah, let's bring 2 and let's even apply more pressure to put him on his heels, to put him in some uncomfortable spots. And he just had one of those nights where maybe he didn't have the flow of finding his teammates as smoothly as he has, but I've seen him really think 2 steps ahead as of late. Tonight, not so much. Is it more of the hiccup? Is it more of the norm? That we do not know yet. But I do know about DeSimone Jewelers, okay? Because DeSimone Jewelers, they are the best in the business. I got my fiance's engagement ring from them. It was the best decision in my life. I keep going back. Christmas, holidays, Valentine's Day, birthday, you name it. Necklace, earring. The list goes on and on and on and on. They work with you to get the best design at the most reasonable price you will find in the market. Will, Lou, Nick, and Mike, they treat you like family. You walk into those doors, whatever your last name is, forget about it. Throw it in the trash. It might as well be DeSimone, because you're not just a customer. You are part of them. And you know what? They're so damn passionate. They teach you and educate you about what you're purchasing. There's a big connection there, and you're involved in that process to buy that beautiful piece that you are going to give to your significant other or your family member, it is grade A. I'm telling you. They provide custom jewelry design, jewelry repairs, appraisals, watch repairs, battery replacement, diamond setting, jewelry cleaning, and so much more. DeSimoneJewelers.com is their website. And if you go in there and say that Broad sent you, they'll hook you up. So seriously, be like, yo, fellas, you know Broads? Do I know Broads? Come sit down. Let me show you what we got. And they bada bing, bada boom, they cash you out, and you're walking out of there a very, very happy individual. DeSimoneJewelers.com. So I did see this coming. I did. We were talking about it in Coffee with Broads this morning. Broads, what do you think to make it 8th straight? And I kept flip-flopping back and forth. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. My gut says, no. They won't make it 8th straight. It smelled like one of those nights. When you see how hot the Sixers are, you're coming into a hostile environment, you're on the road, and you go balls to the wall. You just outcompete them. There was one play, though. Speaking of hustle, I got to point this out. The big man, Joel, is diving. He loses the ball a little bit by the post area, tries to make a pass, then he goes back, and I believe he tried to make the pass. I don't know how the ball started to go back towards half court. If I remember correctly, that's what he tried to do. Regardless, the ball did move in that direction. He's diving at the half court line, right, and he's trying to kick it back. Unfortunately, there was just a shot clock violation, and that was somewhat summarizing the offense as a whole. There was nothing really going on with the offense. I think the words that Doc Rivers used, or maybe it was the post-game show that they used this term of the ball was just sticking in their hands, and they weren't able to really get themselves established or get the ball moving. And that's something that we've highlighted as of late, which is ball was being passed around, good decision-making, swinging the rock around the perimeter. Just wasn't there a night there in that area, and you could tell from that second quarter on that they were lost, even though there was a little bit of hope, a little tiny bit of hope. All right, let's rock some anytime hotline calls. Let's hear from you out there. 856-442-9805. That's the phone number. We'll start with a text message. We do have some phone calls as well, though. We'll start here from Chima from Maryland. Thanks, Chima, for texting in. This loss was annoying. Embiid was definitely giving his all tonight, but his teammates didn't have enough. Once again, Toby was trash. I really don't understand why he keeps driving the ball into Embiid when he's posting up. Nobody could make simple passes all night, which led to a ton of turnovers. Our perimeter defense was non-existent, and on top of that, the refs called 3 terrible offensive fouls against Embiid and 1 terrible offensive foul against Toby. Yeah, that Toby one where LaMelo popped his head back, there wasn't anything there. Sometimes you see the elbow extend, right, but it was standard shoulder placement. Shoulder was into that upper area, but there wasn't any aggression towards it. It wasn't overblown by any means. He went to the rack nice and strong and put it up over the rim there. I didn't like that call whatsoever on Toby. I didn't like some of the calls on Embiid either, but moving along with the text message. But this was a good warm-up game to start our streak of games against good teams. Man, I'm scared what would happen if Embiid scores less than 30. Yeah, another game. That's 8 straight games. He had 31 points again. I just feel you can just leave and Joel Embiid 31 points into any title, into any description, and that's basically what he's going to land at this point. Regardless if he had 30 or didn't, you said you're afraid. It doesn't matter because they lost anyway, right? So I'm with you. Would have been uglier, would have been way uglier, would have been pathetic, just like my Windows making a noise there because I have to relog into my email apparently, but I digress. It doesn't matter. You lose the basketball game. It is what it is. You move forward there. And with Toby, I don't know what's going on there. I'd have to imagine after hearing all this news about the injury and how banged up he is, that there's a correlation there with how disturbing the Tobias Harris experience has been this year. Because as I've mentioned a billion times, this is significantly worse than any other year that we've seen. It has been. That's just factual information. He's been way worse, and he's been so brutal this year. Well, now we're hearing that he's going through it. Well, I'd have to imagine. And I think that there's a difference between an excuse and then a reason. There's excuses why things happen to some, and then there's reasons why. It's totally acceptable to say there's a cause and an effect in human life, in society. No matter if it's outside of sports or in sports. There's a reason why things occur. There's also excuses, and you're kind of maneuvering around holding yourself accountable and accountability. But then there's also reasons. Now, I'm not telling you this is fully 1,000%, no doubt about it. Oh, yeah, this is absolutely no argument made at all. No, because I've already stated he needs to be way better. Or he needs to sit his ass down, get healthy, because this is unacceptable play at the same time. And he's powering through it. Kudos to him. But if you're going to do that, there's going to be a standard set. I have to imagine there's some sort of correlation now. All right, we'll rock some calls now. Here we go. Anytime hotline.
Oh, my God. The 76ers lost a basketball game? Time to forget that we won 7 in a row and be extremely knee-jerk and say stuff like, we need to trade Ben as soon as possible to save our season. Or, Joel Embiid can't carry teams to victories. He's not good. We can't win with that guy. Or you can just be rational and say, hey, it's the NBA. Teams lose games. Teams lose games all the time. The best teams in the league lose games. And it's important to just not let this loss get under your skin and let's just focus on Friday. Let's get back on the right track against the Celtics.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I really haven't heard that reaction after tonight. You win 7 games. If anything, it was almost the opposite, which was they were due. All right, let's see how they respond. Not ideal. They have areas to clean up. Matisse Thybulle, that's something that's not just a 1-game sample size. That's real. That's legitimate. Being frustrated with his lack of performance offensively as an entire player this year, it is no doubt okay to rip him apart, rip him into shreds for having zero gain in that department. I'm pissed at Ben for it. I'm pissed at Matisse Thybulle as well because it's a glaring hole in his game and there's been zero growth at all. Zero growth there. Zero consistency. Can't happen. Just can't happen. So I don't know if I necessarily can agree with the beginning part, which was that reaction. I didn't personally see that reaction. Now, I'm sure that there's some dumbass and some idiot on Twitter who says that, but the loud majority of individuals I thought was pretty honest with their assessment on this one, which was not their night. Team out-battled you. Embiid stepped up, had some turnovers. Other guys weren't able to deliver for you at all, which resulted, I think, in some of those mistakes made by Joel Embiid. And some of that, I got to do this my own tonight type of moments in there. You know, Andre Drummond couldn't help out. He had that one major dunk, but free throws were an issue, causing certain decisions. What can you do? I mean, I mentioned going big. That's a desperate move when you have to do those two. So, I don't know. I just personally didn't hear that type of reaction. After 7 wins, I thought it was pretty calm in that area. What's next?
Seriously, how good is Embiid? I mean, I was a little bit worried that after he came back from COVID, his game might be affected, but he is right back to his from last year, MVP status, which just drives me crazy that he just doesn't have the horses around him because we have a prima donna princess who got her feelings hurt for not dunking the ball in the last year, that we just don't have a true number 2. So I guess the thing I wanted to ask you, is it was too early to start discussing about potential free agents next year and what moves we could start making for next year? Because as much as I love them playing right now, I just don't feel like we're really going to win the chip just with our personnel. So,
yeah, I think it is too premature. No doubt about it. You're right with your assessment that they're not going to win a championship this year. Not only do they not have a 2, they don't have a point guard. And that necessarily doesn't have to be the same exact player. You can get a point guard and then also find a number 2 that plays a different position. That is very possible. I would like for it to almost be a combination of a point guard and number 2 player. But yeah, I mean, they don't have a number 2 and they also don't have a point guard. And they have tons of issues with this roster right now. For sure, Joel Embiid just covers up for some of those flaws when he's making his buckets, when he's backing guys down, when he's hitting his threes, when he's doing Joel Embiid-like things, when he's getting fouled, when he's going to the charity stripe, when he's knocking down his shots. There was one sequence where he was basically, I think it was almost like 4 of 8 from the free throw line, which was 50%. He finishes 10 of 14. I've just seen my man go 17 of 18. The guy's standards are set so high that it makes your brain numb when you analyze what Joel Embiid is. But yeah, I mean, all around, it's way too early to go down that. I mean, I'm still going to appreciate Joel Embiid to this point. We've already established right from the beginning of the season if Ben Simmons wasn't traded. And that's the other part of this too. You want to talk about signing free agents. The thing that's holding all of this up is Ben Simmons. Bringing in free agents, this and that. You got $30 million hanging around doing absolutely nothing. I don't know what you want to do. Tobias's contract, Embiid's contract, the compensation that these guys are all consuming. Where are you going out to land some of these free agents? There's nothing that's going to splash and be so big without Ben Simmons moving that even if you did want to have the thought process of what's next in the offseason, it's irrelevant with Mr. 2-5. That's the first domino that has to fall for anything to even open up. And by the way, you got to bring back X amount of dollars when you trade him. So the whole dialogue once again goes back to there's no money. See, that's why when people always say, oh, Philadelphia, especially doing that whole Tobias and Danny Green thing, this is why people don't want to play in Philadelphia. This is why they can't ever get big-time free agents. No, they can't get big-time free agents because they spend all their money on Al Horford, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons. There's no money to go grab anybody. Oh, by the way, we love Philadelphia. When you look at the grand scheme of things in the NBA world, it ain't a prime-time destination, okay? Miami and the taxes, the lack thereof taxes. People are going to Miami for a reason. LA, yeah, they're willing to pay the taxes because you're living that type of lifestyle. Utah, these places, they don't get free agents. Philadelphia, yes, it's a major market. It ain't a prime time destination for huge players. That's why when Bryce Harper signs here, it's awesome. That's why when Joel Embiid commits his life here and loves it, it's awesome. It ain't the fans that takes people away. You know what? Danny Green fucking hates us. He fucking hates us. Why is he here? Hello? Money. Money, money, money. They were able to pay him money that made him feel comfortable enough to hang around people that he despised. All right. That's not everybody, though. And that, of course, is a different scenario when you're a role player and you're coming off the bench and you're this deep in your career compared to the big-time free agent splashes that people are upset when they don't land. All right, we'll take one more call here. Yeah, we'll take one more.
Hey, bro, tough loss. You know, we didn't deserve that game. I mean, we didn't rebound. We didn't run. We're turning the ball over. I mean, it's just awful. I know a lot of people are going to kill Doc Rivers for that, you know, the Joel Embiid, Andre Drummond lineup. But, I mean, to be fair, I mean, we can't rebound, so we got to try something. So, I mean, it's just awful. Also, I was just thinking about it. It's kind of funny. Last year, you know, we're complaining about spacing with Ben Simmons. So instead, we replace him with Andre Drummond. Oh, gosh, I tell you. But, yeah, tough loss.
That is pretty funny. And yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. You're right. It's definitely not ideal. I guess for me, did they lose that game because they went to Joel Embiid and Andre Drummond? Is that why they lost that basketball game if I'm going to analyze what happened? No, that's not why they lost. Is it the best decision in the world? No, not necessarily, especially when you talk about that spacing and how you beat defenders in this league, having the ability to knock down shots when they play you a certain way. But you get desperate. You get that the alternative wasn't working. The alternative was somewhat dead, and the team wasn't capable of playing the way that they were supposed to tonight. So it's almost a spark plug. We have no answers right now. Let's see if something can happen when we do something crazy and wild, and we'll see if this works. So when your team's not playing to the level that it should, you go outside the box and try and give this team some sort of life by doing something weird, and it didn't end up working, but that's not why they lost the game. They lost the game because of everyone collectively, other than Joel Embiid, just falling on their face for the most part. And that's kind of reality of the situation. So with that being said, we're going to shut things down here. I want to thank everybody so much for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.